Traditional professional development has a problem. It's event-based, it's one size fits all, and most of the time, it doesn't always change practice. You bring someone in, the room gets inspired, everyone takes notes, they thank the speaker, and then Monday happens and the system snaps back. We've become deeply convinced that online group coaching programs are what education consulting needs desperately right now. Not another sit and get workshop, but structured, community-based, accountability-driven experiences that actually move people from inspiration to implementation. And here's the part most teachers and leaders don't realize. This model doesn't just create deeper transformation inside schools. It creates more sustainability, predictability, and freedom for you as the consultant. So in today's episode, we're breaking down what online group coaching really is, why it works, and why we believe it's one of the smartest models that you can build with right now. Let's dive in. Welcome back, Yes Club.
What's up, fam? Sticking with it. We are back from Bangkok.
We are back from Bangkok.
Yeah, awesome trip. I mean, I'm at the point now where we've been to Bangkok several times. That was your third time. That is, I mean, that's probably my eighth time to Bangkok in total. And it's you start to get to know it. You feel the rhythm of the city. You kind of like, I remember being here, and it's way less intimidating because it's intense. Like it's an intense place.
It is an intense
but
city.
in a good way. In a
good way. And I think there's something about the culture of Thailand that, and I've heard this from so many of my friends who've gone before, but it has a very kind, very accepting, very joyful culture.
Yeah.
So even the chaos of Bangkok and this huge city that it is, you always feel kind of comforted.
Yeah.
And at home, maybe it's just the foot massage places that we've that are everywhere.
7-Eleven on every corner. And
the 7-Eleven it hits different in Asia, let me say. But in other big news, we're running our first inaugural Canadian Assessment Center Spring Conference in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yep. We haven't actually talked about hosting events and conferences on this podcast yet. And I think we should at some point, because you were a part of one of the first in-person events I hosted. Called the Empowerment Ecosystem Summit. There is a time and a place for them. We don't recommend starting with them.
No.
They are a bit more of an advanced strategy because it requires a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of overhead. They're expensive to run, but they can be a really powerful thing to bring into your ecosystem. But I digress, as we do.
As we must.
Let's check in.
Let's check in.
Okay,
all right.
On the theme of coaching, Tom.
Yes.
I thought this would be a fun one to throw your way, and then I'll jump in. But
okay.
Who was the greatest coach that you ever had? Because you've had many in your very illustrious athletic career. I think I said that wrong. Yeah. Who's the greatest coach you ever had, and what made them so effective?
That's a really interesting one because I've had many coaches that I thought were great for different reasons and in different phases of my life and how they coached me. But I always go back to my high school basketball coach, Phil Langley. We all affectionately called him Father Phil because he was a counselor, a really prolific basketball coach. And we were a pretty successful team. We never won the championship, but we were many times ranked number one in the province. And we had a really, really good team, and we were a good set of athletes. But what I liked most about his effectiveness was he was a coach of people, not just a coach of the sport. And the reason we called him Father Phil is because we did see him as another, I mean, I had my dad, but we saw him as another father figure and somebody who really cared about us as, students or as young men and not just cogs in his machine trying to win, but we really felt that he cared about us. And so he had a way of inspiring us to really achieve our best. And that was really through the relationships he developed with us. I know that sounds a bit cliche, but ultimately I became a teacher because of Phil Langley. I wanted to be a coach. I knew I was going to do something in sports. And I thought I'm either going to go into broadcasting, which is maybe why I podcast now. I was either going to go into sports broadcasting or go into coaching. And I thought, well, how do I get into coaching? Well, the way you start is kind of being a high school coach. I didn't learn to love teaching and love the profession until after I got into it, but I wanted to be a coach, and I wanted to be a Phil Langley for other athletes because he was that influential on my career.
I'm actually going to go more recent. Originally, I was thinking when I was young and tennis and all of that, but I'm going to pivot and do something a little bit different.
Okay.
But I would say the greatest coach I ever had is one I still have. And it's one of our our friends and mentors, Coraline Hazelwood.
Mm-hmm.
She also is in this learning-based business space, if you will, not in education specifically. She kind of operates more in the wider kind of corporate space, but she was someone I was introduced to kind of through the grapevine, and she's stayed on as a mindset coach with me specifically. And we've been going through a process of something called NLP, which is neuro language processing, and doing some like subconscious unpacking, redesign. Really cool. But I think what makes her such an amazing coach is like, it's the strategy. Sure. It's all this like, she asks good questions. She listens well. She pushes when she needs to. But I think what we underestimate with great coaches is a crazy depth of expertise. Like she can pivot in a session for like all the NLP training she has to like, hey, let's look at this from an astrological perspective and then like a pathology perspective. And I really, and this is probably just me, maybe it's everyone, I don't know. I get really inspired by people who have a wide depth and breadth of knowledge and how they're able to articulate that in a way that helps you see possibilities you never considered before. So she's my favorite coach right now. Shout out Coraline.
And I think one of the things that I have to say that sometimes people really struggle with, and what is so impressive about you being coached by Coraline, is that Coraline is younger than you. And I think there's a lot of people out there that just instinctively would have some kind of issue with being coached by somebody who is younger than them and maybe less experienced. Well, is she less experienced? I don't know. She has a lot of business experience and all that stuff.
Probably more
but
than
you understand
me.
what I'm saying? Like I think that it shows its impressiveness on both ends. So I'm trying to compliment the two of you and doing it in kind of a clunky way.
No, I
which is
appreciate
to
that.
say that Coraline, at her sort of in her early 30s, is someone that you look to as a coach and somebody who's mentored both of us. And I've taken a lot of advice from her on the business side for sure. And she's very competent. But on your end, to be strong enough as a person to say, I don't really care that this person's younger than me or not. And I know that sounds like a nothing burger, but it actually... it probably...
What's a nothing burger?
It's just an expression, you know.
I
think for some people it's a big deal. And I love the fact that for you, it's just a so what. And this is a person who can add to my life and help me.
Yeah,
and I think that's impressive. Yeah. Because I don't even know if I would be okay with that. I think I would, but I've never been in that situation. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But I wonder sometimes, I mean, I'm getting to the point where almost everyone's going to be younger than me. That's working, you know, because a lot of people are retiring now. So if I'm in that realm, they're probably going to be, and I suppose I've already proven that to be true because I've also taken a lot of business advice from Coraline and really respect her.
Yeah. So
as a
look at
person.
you.
So look at me.
Pat yourself on the back.
Pat myself.
That's good.
That was a backhanded way of coming back
Basically,
to me.
He just wanted to bring it all back around to wait a minute.
Wait, this
Those
is about
amazing
Tom.
people that I just told you about, I'm actually...
No, that was we workshopped that in real time. And I think that's really
There's a lot
important.
of this that's live,
Yeah,
folks.
for sure. Okay. So let's talk about the problem we're talking about today's episode, which is that one size fits all PD doesn't guarantee any kind of deep change at all.
No.
Most people, you know, it's often an obligation. They're required to go, or they're, you know, voluntold to go.
Yeah.
They go to the conferences. They kind of cross their arms. They say, this is another trend. This too shall pass. You know, and there's too many political priorities in education. And things we come back from the conference, we're all fired up. We don't follow through on anything. And that was just another fun time we went to in a cool city.
Yeah. And this idea that there's too many priorities and there's no follow through is just like, we're not blaming teachers for this too shall pass. Often it shall pass.
Yeah, they're right.
It's like, we're going to change this huge, massive, fundamental part of the system. Oh, just joking. It's next year. So now we're moving on to a huge different. And after a while, you're like, okay.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that because I have used a line for years that says one of the reasons educational change is so difficult is because teachers have been practicing their psychic abilities and they've been proven to be right.
Yeah, that's a good
in
point.
that every time a leader gets distracted, it's like, no, that's not our initiative. We're doing this year. And the teacher's like, okay, seriously, we've had 3 different principles, 5 different priorities. I'm just going to sit here and go, yeah, this is going to pass too, because no one at leadership follows through with it. So it is not just a teacher thing. Sometimes teachers get in the way of progress, and sometimes leaders are the reason progress isn't being made.
Ayo.
Yeah.
And so this is a very education-specific problem in the terms of like implementation. Probably exists in other fields. We would argue it's a unique challenge we have in education.
I think so.
And the other depth to this problem is the fact that the world around us, when it comes to the speed of learning and the speed of being able to implement new things into your life, has gone exponential.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got education being like, we're going to change things. Just joking. Nothing's changing every year after year. And now I could head out tomorrow and decide, you know what? I want to learn coding. I don't know. I'm just picking a random topic. I hop on YouTube, watch a few videos, go to ChatGPT, come up with a custom plan, start actually coding something, start building it out, go onto social media, reach out to 5 people in my city who, and before you know it, a few months have gone by and I've learned the basics of coding. So learning has become so on demand and so fast. People are craving choice because that's what they're getting in every other part of their life is tons of choice and voice and agency around their own learning. And then with that agency comes, I want to feel successful and see something through to completion. So I want to not only choose it, but I want to see it through and feel like I've emerged successful out the other end. And this traditional approach that we have to professional development, where a lot of consultants find themselves kind of caught up in, doesn't reflect that.
Not at all. Okay, so our outcomes, here's what we want to try to, by the end of this episode, listeners, you're going to know exactly what an online group coaching program is, why it's a key factor in long-term sustainability as a consultant. We think that that's a very strong assertion on our part, and we really, truly believe that. Why it's going to transform education when coupled with professional development, professional learning. And here's the kicker. We're going to give you 3 questions that you can use to discover your best online group coaching idea.
If you listened to last week's episode, if you're a loyal listener, thank you very much, first of all. You know that online group coaching programs is how I got my start, and it's how we coach a lot of our clients in our community to get started. Simply because it works. Like, we're not saying this because it's hypothetical or we think it's a cool idea you should try. I started from literal zero. I had no gigs booked. I had no published book. I had no masters. I had, I don't know, maybe 1,500 Twitter followers at the time. That's about it. And in 2 months, using the online group coaching model, I was able to gather 15 leaders who were like, you are my person. You are my coach. I'm investing in you. I was able to get cash up front of $20,000. I don't think, if you go into it with the mindset of, I just want to do PD, and we love that. You know, I love in-person learning to this day. But we just have to acknowledge there's some huge barriers to getting sustainability in that way and having to do it off the edge of your desk for years. Getting that group of people together that quickly gave me a ton of confidence. It gave me income, so I actually felt like I could keep going. But more importantly, going deep with people in a space they chose that they were super invested in led to so many other things for me. And to this day, continues to open doors. Someone who was in that very first program, I was speaking at their school in September. We did a full day of PD around the new book that they bought for the staff. And that school is also sending, I think, 15 people to our conference that we're hosting very shortly. So this is truly how things snowball and where you get a lot of depth and trust and credibility.
We want to say it's not the only way to deliver professional learning. It's not the only way to be a consultant, but it is hands down the fastest way to scale. There's no question. There's no, I love the way you always phrase it. All you need is a Wi-Fi connection and a Zoom link. And you can run an online group coaching program, right? There's not the travel involved. Now, I know some people are drawn to consulting because of the travel, and the travel is awesome.
And you can do both.
Don't let any of the consultants online who bellyache about travel fool you. They love the travel. They love all of that. However, especially early on, this is how you scale. And this is what we're going to get into as we get into the episode, is why this is such a way to, we love this model. We still do it. We have our Unleash Yes Freedom Lab, and that is an online group coaching program that we run. You get to go deep. You build amazing relationships. It's very nimble and agile. You can really make maneuvers. And I'm excited because this spring, I'm developing an online group coaching program for the Canadian Assessment Center. And it's going to be about implementing sound grading practices or outcomes-based grading. And I'm excited because I've actually never run one on my own.
Yes.
Not that I'm going to run it on my own. You're going to probably be involved, and others will be involved as well. But I'm going to be the primary lead on that program, and I'm excited to conceptualize what that might look like. It's exciting, and I think it's a really still a great opportunity and an underserved model in the education sphere. Online group coaching is not rare, but it's kind of rare in education.
Yeah,
so I do think
100%.
there's an opportunity for people to forge their way into the consulting space without a lot of capital that they have to put out.
A fun fact about Tom. So with this launch of your grading program, you interviewed roughly 15
about 15 people.
leaders across Canada when we launched the Canadian Assessment Center. One of the number one things he reported back that was a theme across all of those interviews when he said, what's missing for you for learning? Like, how do we get to this transformation around grading that we seek? What barriers are you bumping up against? And one of the number one things was ongoing support.
Yeah. Follow up.
Things are one and done. It's, we checked that off the list, but nothing was followed through. We cannot iterate enough that this is the model that solves the biggest problem that we're seeing in education, which is the follow through and the implementation. Now that you know that we love it,
we love it.
what exactly is it? This is really, really a broken down, simple version, but online group coaching is exactly like it sounds like. You coach a group of people online, but I'm not going to be facetious. I'll go. So just like we talked about last week in the episode about what is an education consultant, it is a program that solves a very pressing, painful problem in education, and it offers some kind of transformation as an outcome. So that's it. Now, that being said, it has a couple key parts. Actually, would you talk about this really well?
So usually an online group coaching program, and we teach this to our clients, has a live training component. So there is some capacity building that's involved because you do have that expertise. And just to go back to what we said a little bit last week, the transformation is usually sort of finite. It's not solving the umbrella issue, like we need to raise our literacy scores, or we like in an online group coaching program, you're getting to more of a finite transformation, and you can string together a series of those finite transformations. Usually some live training involved is in building some capacity, both their knowledge, but also their operational agility to be able to put things into practice. There's obviously the coaching program part of it, right? So there's usually live group coaching where it's an opportunity for participants to come on and say, okay, here's what I dealt with. A teacher asked me this question this week. How do I deal with that? Or how do I maneuver around that? And then often, I would say rarely it doesn't include this. More often than not, there's some kind of community, right? There's some sort of online platform, whether it's a Facebook group or a Slack or some type of, we've used Discord. There's some sort of closed community where the cohort can help support one another. So kind of the three components: live training. The training doesn't always live. Sometimes sometimes the trainings will be recorded. We've done both. There's usually live coaching, and then there's the community.
Something that I just want to double tap on before we move on. We've had a number of people say, can I just drop the training? Like, can I just not do that? Because I love just coaching and helping people. Friends, I'm going to look you in the eyes when I say this. The fastest way to a toxic space that you will hate and want to burn down quickly is to not have some kind of problem you solve, steps you expect people to move through, and an outcome at the end of it. If you remove that, you're now going to become the shepherd of the most toxic political environment, because no one's going to really know what exactly they're doing there, even if they join because they like you. And as a result, you're going to get people jockeying for power, people trying to overpower other people, trying to come up with passion projects they could take on together. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable for anyone. It eventually falls apart. So that training piece, like that clear, like, I am going to be your warm demander who's going to say we're moving from A to B, and I'm going to push when I need to push. That's what a good coach does. Like, they're not afraid to say, hey, we got to stop here and call out some limiting beliefs and keep moving forward, because this is not it. We're not spiraling on step one. We got to keep moving forward. Right. So you need a path, and that's what the training is. It's the path. Okay. Now that's being said, as Tom mentioned, there's so many nuances and variations in how you can combine training, live coaching, and some kind of an asynchronous community. So you could do all of the training live. You could say, we're going to do a 12-week program. Week 1 is going to be training on this topic, and there's going to be some kind of action step to take. So you're all going to go do that action. Week 2, we're going to come back and unpack how did it go? What questions do you have? That's the coaching piece. So you can just alternate back and forth through kind of 6 steps, if you will. And that's the whole program. In fact, This is often where we tell people to start because then you get to see how the whole thing just feels. But then something that other people do, and we're going to use the business correct term, it's actually not very scary, but we want to use it correctly. It's evergreen. In education, we would often call this asynchronous. Yeah. But when it's evergreen, what that means is you're going to take the training and you're going to put it into like an online course format. But it's not just I'm leaving you on your own online course, because now you can do more of the live coaching. So they've got all the material. You're going to get some people who go faster, some who go slower, and it allows for a bit of like pacing for them. But that way you can just meet people where they're at with the coaching. The other thing to consider here is it really short and you're solving like a very, like Tom said, a very acute problem just to build trust and credibility? Or is this something that requires like a year-long commitment or 2-year commitment or a 3-year commitment? So depending on what you're promising to people, you're going to change the scope accordingly. Something we still use to this day and we love, not everyone does it this way, but you could just do it join whenever. They call this like cart open, like you just join whenever. Anytime you want to start, because everything of the modules is online and ready to go, you can jump in. Or you could do cohorts. You could close it and say, okay, the next cohort starts in 3 months, and then open it and then close it, then open it. There's upsides and downsides to both. On the one hand, teachers kind of love, or leaders love the idea of being like in a community together, and it's my class and we're moving through and we're supporting each other. Then obviously, on the other side, what's a huge upside is if you want to get started, you can just get started and you get to catch people where they're at and they don't have to wait or anything like that. Right. The last thing I'll say here in terms of variations is how done with you versus done for you do you want to lean? So if it's done with you, you kind of have to move through materials yourself. I'll coach and answer questions, but it's really you learning this yourself. Done for you is like, I'm going to kind of guide and mentor and walk you through this step by step. The cool thing with this we've seen recently as a fun model is it doesn't always have to be you as the creator and the kind of the visionary lead. You could hire like coaches from within your community, for instance. A great example of this is something called Modern Classrooms Project, where once you've graduated the kind of done with you course, then you can become a mentor someone then who's doing the done with you course could opt into and get coached and mentored. But anyways, I'm going on and on. I feel like I just talk too much as I often do. What would you suggest around getting started though?
Yeah, so when we get started on a group coaching program, what we would recommend is doing it live first, right? Because first of all, you're going to have to, even if you're thinking, I want to go evergreen, I want to record the modules, it's going to be better if you record them with a live audience, right? If you've got so we recommend starting with what we would call a beta program, which is like a testing program. And usually in that phase, you're thinking about a price that's roughly about 30% discounted, right? Because this is the first time you're running the program. So we're going to go beta pricing so that I can test the content, because you may make a decision. So for example, in our Freedom Lab, when we beta tested this with our first beta group, we only had 5 modules. And what we recognized in those 5 modules is that module number 2 was actually way too much material and way too much content. So what we learned from that first beta group was we need to split that one into 2. So we actually now have 6 modules. That's something we would not have learned until we actually implemented the beta program. So that beta price goes and you do it live. Now, you could flip it to an evergreen sort of on-demand model right away, but then the price immediately goes up by that 30%, right? So you have a price in mind, you back it off by 30% for the beta pricing, and then you could move the training to evergreen if you wanted to. Now, you and I didn't do that right away. We did the trainings live for a few times, and then we recorded them and went on from there. But that's totally up to the person to decide how they want to do that. But usually the first time you're going to do it live, and then you're going to record it, and you'll have copies of that for people to watch. Because listeners, again, you may have folks who can't show up to the live training times because they'll be at a particular time. We've had people from overseas be in our program, and that can be a challenge as well. So that's generally what we would do for getting started with a beta. So the one thing about online group coaching programs that is, there's many things that are great about it, but one of them is the sustainability, right? They're always available. Like it's on-demand income, right? In a way, as a consultant, you don't have to necessarily wait. This is a debate that I'm having with my own. So I'm workshopping this in real time here, listeners, is whether or not my online group coaching program is going to to mirror the school year? Is it going to
Mhm.
mirror half the school year? Is it going to be something that can be picked up at any time? I still haven't workshopped that through,
Mhm.
but those are the things you have to think about. But in many ways, you have obviously very low overhead. All you need is a Wi-Fi connection and a Zoom link.
A good attitude.
And a good attitude, right?
Yeah.
And it's predictable. Like there's predictability around that, and it doesn't require you to, we can do what we did during Zoom trainings during COVID, which is business up top, party on the bottom, right? You can be in your shorts, you could be in your pajamas, whatever you need to do. Up top, it looks buttoned up. Down below, you're feeling
Yeah.
pretty good. Flip-flops, whatever you've got going on.
Yeah.
But there is something about just hopping on your computer. Your community is there. I don't have to get on a plane. Again, I know there's a perceived glamour around the travel and the hotels and the rental cars and all that. And there is that, but there's also an underbelly to it that it wears on you. I've been doing it full time for 15 years and sometimes it gets old. You know what I mean? It's flight delays and all these things that are going on. When we fly to Bangkok, it's amazing. When you're flying to some little town and you're delayed. Anyway, I digress. The predictability, the low overhead, the on-demand income, these are all reasons why online group coaching is sustainable.
Yeah, but just a reminder here, you could do both. Last year,
Of
I did both.
course,
For the
of
whole year, we
course.
both did
Yes,
both.
that's right.
So we would be,
That's right. Yes.
like, I'd be ripping
Yeah.
through, and I'd be Chicago O'Hare going to my connection,
Yeah.
and I'd be waiting for my plane, and I'd go in, I'm like, oh, the Discord has a bunch of new notifications, and I'm coaching people
Yeah.
asynchronously
Yeah.
on my phone as I wait to board my plane. Like,
Yeah.
it's a very, very flexible way of, so if you are doing both, what we've done just as a little hack is you just let people know, I'm going to be adjusting the times for the coaching every week to try to hit people in different time zones. Plan it based on your schedule.
I did a coaching call from the Bangkok Hyatt Hotel.
So sometimes it's the morning,
waiting
sometimes
for-
it's Tuesday,
yeah.
sometimes it's
But
Saturday,
I think-
you just
I think
plan
the
it around
point-
your speaking
Yeah, and
schedule.
I think the point I was trying to make, which I did inartfully, was especially when you're starting out, right?
Mhm.
Because it's a really quick way to establish momentum because, as Natalie's already described, from the online group coaching program is likely going to be on-site PD. So you're going to get those contracts, but it'll come with the credibility you build in that program. Okay.
Absolutely.
Why do you think it's going to transform education?
Well, just one last piece really quick about why it's so great for
Yeah.
sustainability. What you need more than anything in this consulting space is testimonials.
Yeah, good point.
When you get testimonials from PD, they're nice, but they usually say things like, was a really great speaker,
Mhm.
lovely to listen to, really engaging, liked the food, the temperature could have been warmer. You're not exactly getting, the testimonial usually is the leader saying to another leader,
Yeah.
they were blah, blah, blah. But when you get someone who was like, I was literally ready to leave this profession. I was at my wit's end. I was in such a dark place. And then I discovered Tom. And Tom helped me realize X, Y, and Z. I achieved these incredible results that I never thought possible in my 25 years in the field. And I not only want to stay till retirement, I'm excited. It's like I've started an entire new like you just
Yeah.
don't get those kinds of
No.
testimonials
No,
from
you don't.
PD. So the beautiful thing is that depth
Mhm.
leads to more of the kind of work that you probably really want to do and are craving. We have had so many closed door conversations with consulting friends who are just like burnt out
Yeah.
of being on this hamster wheel of going to all these different places and
Yeah.
having the same conversation over and over, and it doesn't lead to anything.
Mhm.
People don't follow through. They get the same 10 questions from the audience that's skeptical and over this BS.
Mhm.
And it just feels like, what am I doing here? Like,
Mhm.
you need those testimonials to grow your business, but you need them for yourself too.
Mhm.
To not feel like I'm just like, what did my dad call it once? The rubber chicken circuit?
Rubber chicken circuit.
Like, oh, it's, anyways.
That's a boomer expression.
He is a boomer.
Yeah, there you go.
But
All right.
okay, let's talk about what's something we both care deeply about. We know you do too if you're listening to this podcast. Why will this transform education?
Mhm.
That's what we're ultimately after. We talk about our kids in schools needing choice, needing voice, needing agency. Who's giving that to the teachers?
Mhm.
Who's giving that to the leaders? Like, I don't think we talk enough about how much that's needed for learning,
Mhm.
period, and how poorly it's often executed for the adults in the school space. Now, there's always going to be a time to do things that you didn't necessarily choose for yourself as a part of your job.
Mhm.
Totally understand that. We need
Yeah.
that for alignment. We need that for clarity. But this has more to do with, I'm opting into something that is giving me more purpose and meaning
Mhm.
in the job. And purpose and meaning does not come from some consultant coming in being like, remember your why. Like, we all know that. Like, it doesn't work. It comes from saying, I have a real problem. It's keeping me up at night. I'm seeking a solution. I got an incredible learning experience where I actually felt less alone because other people were in it with me. The community piece cannot be understated. I had a mentor who's actually been there and walked me through how to solve it. I saw real results and my life has changed. Like that totally reawakens the sense, like in our space, one of my favorite testimonials we ever got was someone who said, I haven't felt this alive in decades.
Yeah.
I've never finished a PD day and had someone
you can't
say,
put a price on that either,
you
right?
can't.
No,
you really can't.
For sure. You think about the concept of coaching, like you're the coach, they're the players, right? The players are the ones that make things happen. And so what you're creating are these internal champions for the work instead of always relying on the external consultant. Players play, coaches coach. They're the ones that have to do the work. Remember, you're not doing it for them, you're doing it with them and you're guiding them, but they're the ones that have to like, so this is where you get to longer term transformation because the transformation is coming from within.
Yeah.
It's coming from inside. It's not based on that one shot PD. And as I mentioned earlier, this can often lead to PD requests to bring you to the school, to deepen the work, to bring you to the district, to really support the work. But there's still those internal people that are really champions. And, you know, you kind of bring them into the program, you sell them on the transformation, they can see the vision of what's possible, and then they want to make that happen in their schools. And all of that leads to really deep work at the school level for sure.
And the cool thing is that it's like a multidimensional learning in the sense that the more that you learn and get to go deep into this one transformation, the more you're going to add to the program, the more you're going to add a new module. So someone, let's say, has moved on, they're not they kind of got what they needed, but then you're like, whoa, there's this crazy extension I never thought of to this work. And I'm seeing it work in this like little isolated test case with these few clients. So I'm going to add that in, send an email to the whole group. FYI, there is a new section I added in about using AI for reporting, let's say. So it's like your grading program, right? Everyone who was in that community is still in that community. Like there's that's something we often say is keep them in the community. And they come back and they're like, oh, amazing. Thank you. Oh, this is great. Actually, would you come to our school? Like it just becomes this hub where you can do so much from there. So something we talked about with our client Jay last night was he is going to launch a program around PBL. And then our thinking was make it kind of like the basic, here's what you need to know to implement this well. I'm going to walk you through it. 1.0, he's already got a back-end process he's starting to set up for. 2.0 is I'll come onto your campus with you for the next 3 years and we'll put this plan we created into action. Brilliant. But yet he still has this community to keep this person connected to, okay, let's share back what you're doing here with the community. Why don't you come in and the next coaching call, we're going to do a live Q&A and hot seat what you're doing. Trust us, folks. We really think this is so big, and the online education boom is estimated to be one of the fastest growing economies in the next few years, like $1 trillion economy. It's about to just take education by storm. We really think so. Anywho, let's talk about 3 questions to discover your online group coaching idea.
Let's do it.
I'm going to just tell you the questions and Tom will go a little bit deeper into them.
Yeah, for sure.
First, we talked about this a lot last week. Where do I have receipts of making change happen? Not receipts of something I learned about.
Nope.
Receipts of taking some learning I had, but putting into action and making change happen. 2, what do people constantly ask me for help with? Don't underestimate this one. If they're already asking you for help on something, it's probably what you're meant to coach others on. And 3, this one's often underestimated. What am I super curious about? Let's unpack those, Tom.
Yeah, I think the receipts one is so massive because, you know, a lot of educators, if you have a pretty long career, you're going to have a lot of experience in a lot of different areas. When I worked at central office, I had so many aspects of the educational system that were in my portfolio, but that doesn't make me an expert in all of those areas, right? I don't have receipts in all of those areas. One of my responsibilities was Indigenous education. I would never start a program claiming that I had receipts on leading an Indigenous education program. That was my portfolio was to oversee it. My portfolio was not the transformation part. So those receipts are so important. And this is always when people say, well, I want to be a consultant. That's the first question we ask is, what receipts do you have? Have you gone through a transformation? Have you led a transformation? Is it both? That's such a critical part. What do people constantly ask me for help with? They are recognizing your expertise, right? They're recognizing that you have capacity. You have shown them evidence that you've got something going on in your classroom or your school that they could learn from. And then ultimately what you're super curious about is going to drive your own learning and probably your own action around putting things into practice and developing that expertise as well. So that curiosity can go from there. So those three questions will really help you. I would probably say the first one is a first among equals, which is, where do I have receipts? Where do I actually have the credibility? Because those are the successful consultants in this world, the consultants that can walk into a school or be online and say, hey, when I was a teacher, this is how I did it. And here's the frustrations. Here's what I overcame. Here's how we handled faculty pushback. When you have those stories in your repertoire, when I talk about the students I taught 20 years ago, those stories still land with people because it gives you the credibility to say, hey, I've been there. I know how hard this is. And here's how I overcame that.
That piece about overcoming is so key because so many times people go, well, the change is that I didn't do the thing and then I discovered this new fun thing and I started doing it. That's not the kind of change we're talking about, just so we're clear. Because if you felt that that was so fun and easy to engage in on your own to learn, so does everyone else. Right. It's got to be something that really plagued you. Maybe it took years, maybe it took your entire career thus far to like really deal with. And maybe deep down, you still feel like a fraud when you think about it. That's probably what it is.
And that's the key. And I think this is maybe an episode for a future podcast, which is to talk about the fact that the transformation really is human and emotional. It's not, I gained more knowledge, right? It's a transformation as a professional, how you felt at work or how you interacted with your students. Like there's a feeling to it and there's an emotion behind it. So I think that's something that we probably could explore in a different episode. But listeners, if there's one thing we hope you're taking away from this episode, it's this. Online group coaching isn't just a business model. It is a transformation model.
Yes. It's what happens when you stop trying to just deliver information and you start designing intentionally for transformation.
And it is the exact model that we both teach and build inside the Educators Freedom Lab.
Inside the lab, we don't just help you come up with an idea. We actually walk you through a validation process to validate your niche, design a transformation-based offer, and to build the sales systems that will actually enroll real clients without burning you out or overcomplicating it.
Our next cohort starts in April. And if you're listening to this podcast thinking to yourself, okay, this is a model that I want to build. And whether you're starting from scratch or you're already an established consultant who wants more predictability and sustainability,
then the next step is pretty simple. There's a link in this episode's description to book a call with us, and we're going to walk you through a demo of exactly how we'll help you start signing premium clients within the next 6 months and then also put systems in place to scale. So again, that link is just in this episode's description.
So we're going to talk you through where you are, what you're building, and whether the lab is the right fit for you. Because the future of education consulting isn't louder.
It's deeper. And we'd love to help you build it.
We'll see you inside the lab.